Hello everyone, it's Silvia from Fiddler Tarot. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to another haul. So today we're going to have a look at a couple of things that came into my collection recently, and we're also going to have a very serious discussion. So first of all, I wanted to show you these really beautiful, gorgeous tarot bags and wraps that I received from the Tarot Bag Ladies. So I've talked about this mother and daughter business, and the daughter Tash is actually one of my Starlight members. And I have to say that ever since I started being in a Facebook group here in Australia, and one of the Facebook groups that you are in because you want to buy or either sell or even swap sometimes tarot decks, but there's also the possibility to get to know really nice and interesting people. And I had the possibility to know of this business as well. And it's, let me tell you, the bags that I've purchased from them or I received from them as gifts have always been absolutely fantastic. The quality is amazing, and I am always very happy when I know that there's a parcel coming in with a couple of bags, because I absolutely love them. If you have been watching my channel for any length of time, you will know that I have quite a substantial, let's put it this way, collection of tarot and oracle decks. And sometimes tarot collectors, we have to deal with the space logistics related to where we're going to store these decks, especially when there's a few hundreds of them, of course. And at a certain point, I think I'm not the only one to say that I love it when I buy a deck that comes in a really beautiful box, perhaps is a wraparound magnetic closure kind of box with a really nice book, like the ones from Llewellyn, for example. But there's also the problem of where do I store this new tarot deck or oracle deck, because I don't have room. I have shelves, I have trolleys. I have talked extensively about that, so this is not the space for it anymore. I think I've found the right way to store them. But it's also true that when they do come in a very large box, I tend to move the actual cards in a bag, because I just think first of all, they're really beautiful, and second of all, it is something that preserves them, let's say, and it's also an act of love towards your deck, because when you do appreciate a deck, that's when you put it in a bag. You don't put a deck that you're not going to use in a bag, because you know that obviously I don't have, if I do have over 500 decks, I do not have over 500 bags. So as a consequence of that, I have to be choosy. I have to pick the right tarot deck that goes in the right bag. And more often than not, it's also have to deal with aesthetics. I am so excited about these ones. So first of all, let me just say that these three are actually going to a friend of mine, so I'm not going to show them to you today, because I want to keep them in this really beautiful cellophane wrap, because they're going to preserve them. Obviously, they're not going to be ruined by whatever is going to happen during shipping. But look at this one. The colors are just amazing. And if you have been to Australia, if you have been in specific to the Great Barrier Reef in North Queensland, you will recognize this pattern, because this is what you literally see from the sky. If you take a helicopter tour, for example, even a short one, it is an experience of a lifetime. I highly recommend it. It's really, really mind-blowing. And this is what you see. So it is really, really beautiful. And on top of everything, this is actually a celebration of the first Australians. So obviously this is a very special technique. I hope I can show you. If I do this, probably I avoid the reflex of the wrap. So as you can see, these are really small dots, and this technique is very typical, let's say very traditional of first Australians. So I am absolutely in love with this bag. It is so very beautiful. I also love these colors. If you know me, you will know that teal blue and teal greens are my favorite colors. So this is a really beautiful bag that, as I said, is going to go to a friend of mine. And also these two bags. So there's one, these are actually wraps, they're not bags. There's one wrap at the front and one at the back. But I'm going to open these ones because these ones are actually, these are for me. So I am very, very excited to open this bag. And let me just show you. So there's 3. And what I really love is that they always come with hand-painted thank you cards, which is always a very nice touch. I really love this. And so we've got 3 of them, and obviously they have 3 different sizes. Let's say I believe one of them is a wrap, perhaps 2. So we've got 2 wraps, this one, and then a bag. And I saw this one in the Tarot Bag Ladies Facebook page, which I highly recommend. That I'm going to put the link in the description box below. It is a Facebook page, so you can have a look at all of the photos. And in some of the photos, they actually specify whether the bags are still available or not. But I do believe that they are fantastic. And, sometimes I like to customize things, and you can tell them what you prefer by looking at the fabric that they have available. So these 2, as I said, these 2 are wraps. This one comes from a fabric that I actually bought myself when I was in Ho Chi Minh City in the south of Vietnam, and I really love this. So I have been told that this is real silk. So I'm not an expert, and I hope that they didn't rip me off. Not the Tarot Bag Ladies, the person in Vietnam who sold me the fabric for this. It certainly feels like silk to me, so I am not an expert. Please excuse me. But this is a really beautiful wrap, and look how beautiful and vibrant the contrast is between the orange of this silky fabric. I don't know if you can tell, but it really shines, and it's really, really beautiful. And it does, when you do that with the light, you can actually see that there's a very intricate kind of design on it. And then the lining, I think that it's a perfect combination to have it black like that. So I cannot wait to choose a tarot deck that is going to go into this really beautiful wrap. And then the second wrap is this one here, which is very Christmassy. And let me tell you, I feel like I am done with the vibes that I cultivated throughout the whole month of October for Halloween. I am really over it. Not that it was not welcome, it certainly was, but I feel like I am ready to move on to a different stage. And I don't know if I'm ready yet to jump into the jolliness of the silly season, but I am definitely ready for something more festive, for sure, more happy. And so this one is perfect because I don't know about you guys, but I'm not one for really cheesy or corny kind of, tarot bags in this case, but fabric in general. I love, absolutely love Christmas decorations, but I'm not entirely on board with the ones that are a bit too cutesy dootsy. I don't know if I'm explaining myself, but this one is perfect because it still has this kind of really nice atmosphere with the snow and the trees and everything, and the red of the buildings here. And there's also snowmen here, so it is definitely Christmassy. And it opens up like this. And I don't know if you can tell here. Let me just move the fabric like this so you can tell. But this also has some really beautiful, the lining, I mean, has got some really beautiful, intricate design inside as well. And the quality feels really sturdy. And it's something that I know that will definitely do a great job in preserving my decks, no matter which one I'm going to choose for that. And this one, oh my goodness, look at this. I mean, look at the skull. How beautiful. Let me just zoom in because I'm so excited about this one. This is really my vibes. This is what I absolutely adore. I love skulls. I mean, I don't think I have to explain this because you guys know me. You guys know how much I love skulls. And to me, I do personify them. I name them even, and it's so much fun. But they also remind me, it feels like there is that monologue of Hamlet, and is literally talking to the skull or looking at the skull and having this monologue with himself and thinking about life and death and the transition in between and what is the transition and what is life and what is death. So I love skulls for that reason and many other reasons as well. But this one is absolutely gorgeous because it's got this really beautiful purple snake. I don't know if you can tell. That goes, you know, it's intertwined in the skull, and I just really, really love it. And so this is actually going to be for, I already have a tarot deck for this bag. Let me show you. So it's this one here, is the Honasa House. This is the 7th edition, which is the one that is a bit, let's say, narrower than the other ones that we used to see by Honasa. And this isn't it just absolutely perfect? It's perfect when it comes to the bags. As you can see, this purple goes really well with the colors of the bag, but it's absolutely fantastic when you look at the botanical themes of the tarot itself. And I believe it was made for this deck in specific. And as a matter of fact, well, there you go. It fits absolutely perfectly. Very, very happy about this one. Let me just close it. There you go. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. So I'm very happy about these 3 bags that I have for myself. And now we are going to move on to something that is probably an argument or a topic of discussion that I think that it's impossible to avoid any longer, because recently in the market we have been flooded by AI created decks. So decks created with the assistance of AI, artificial intelligence. And if you peruse, if you look through Etsy, but also there's a lot, and I mean a lot of Kickstarter campaigns that show you decks that have been created with either with the help of AI. So they probably started with an AI generated image, and then the artist has started from that point, and then they applied a lot of, I don't know, some kind of digital manipulation to the images in order to produce a card, a tarot card. Whether we're looking at Kickstarter or Etsy, or even in many, many cases, we will see that some publishers have come out with AI-generated decks. And I'm thinking, I don't want to say actually any name because I'm not entirely sure of a couple of them, or at least I'm not sure 100%. And I also know that those decks were created before there was the request from the collectors market and the users market to actually reveal whether AI was used in the process or not. So I'm not going to say any names, but you guys, if you know me, you know that I, generally speaking, try and understand what the creative process is behind a deck. So obviously, when it comes to a creative process, when it comes to AI, there is a massive question mark. Now, the discussion has been prompted by the fact that I received a deck as a gift. So I'm just going to show you because it is also, let's say, the reason why today I'm here and I'm showing you all these things. And it's this deck here. There it is. So it's called the Artist Decoded Tarot. This is a deck that has been created together by Jennifer Sodini Aronovich and Yoshino. Jennifer Sodini is well known in the tarot world and oracle, actually more oracle than tarot, because she's also the creator of 2 oracle decks that I absolutely love. They are very much cherished in my collection. Those 2 decks, one of them is called the Modern Nirvana Oracle, and the other one is called the Amenti Oracle. They have absolutely no trace of AI. It is 100%, let's say, artist created. And you see that I'm already kind of struggling because I don't know whether I should define now a deck, a normal deck, let's say, as artist created as opposed to AI created. I feel that as a collector of 36 plus years and a tarot reader, I have found myself many, many times having to learn the language, learn the lingo, learn how to present the decks that I've got. As a tarot tuber, I obviously had to learn new languages, new sentences, phrases, new words, new technical terms. When it comes to the cardstock, for example, that was a really tough journey to learn, let me tell you. But nowadays, I feel like I also have to understand and probably make up from months and months and months of trying to ignore this phenomenon that is definitely flooding the market, which is AI. How do I call a deck that has been generated by a machine, by AI, by a software rather than a machine, a software? How do we call it that? Do we call it AI generated deck? Do we call it something else? And do we define that as opposed to an artist generated deck? You see, these kind of things are actually rather, I feel like I'm probably trying to split hairs, but at the end of the day, I'm actually not. Because if you look at the amount of decks that are proposed, that are literally just flooding the market right now, that have at least some component of AI in them, you will probably acknowledge, or at least I feel like I need to acknowledge AI. And I don't know yet what to think about it. Do I like it? Do I not like it? Do I consider it as a form of art? Is there a space for AI in tarot? Is there a space for AI in tarot? I have an answer to that. I feel like there is something that sooner or later we will all have to reckon with. And I'm going to give my answer, but only at the end of this video. Why? Because first of all, I want to just present this deck and other couple of decks as well. And I want to try and understand what the creative process is behind these decks. And only after I've done that, I'm going to give you my opinion. I feel that I should not give my opinion right now because I don't want to sway anyone. I really want this as a safe space for every one of us who feel like we want to say something about AI, to feel like we can't say it without being shut down by somebody else. I kindly ask you to, if you want to say something, please do so in the comments below, but please keep it friendly and respectful, because I believe that we should not scare away someone who has an opinion that might be different from the one we have just by shutting them down, because that way we're just precluding ourselves to grow. It's almost as if we were taking away the possibility to either change our minds if we feel like we have to change our mind, or even confirming what we believe in, because everything needs to be peer reviewed. And obviously that is a term that is used in science when it comes to for example, a paper about some scientific discovery or something related to science. It needs to be peer reviewed. But if you look at life, we also need to hear what other people are thinking about something, or at least this is me. Please understand, I'm not imposing anything on anyone. This is the process that I like to adopt every time that I want to make up my mind about something. So without much further ado, let's have a look at this deck. And after this, I'm also going to talk about the creative process done by Jennifer and Yoshino when they got together a couple of years ago and they decided to start creating with AI, start creating with this deck. So the artist Decoded. The reason why it's called the artist Decoded, by the way, is because Yoshino has a website, or rather a podcast that you can find on a website. And I'll make sure to put the link in the description box below if the links are still working, because sometimes I do receive messages from people saying that sometimes the links are broken. My apologies, it's not my mistake for once. I have been alerted by YouTube Tech that is something that has happened, and it may happen again. But in any case, it is www.artistdecoded.com, I believe. So let's have a look. And this comes with a really nice, I have to say, very sturdy, a strong wraparound magnetic closure box. It also comes with this book. So let's have a look. This is a Chunky Monkey, as you can see. It's a really nice book. It's one of those really beautiful, soft cover that is not a paperback, so it does present itself with a bit of value. I have to say, I do not know the price of this deck because it was a gift. And I also have to say that this was a gift from someone who is not in the tarot community. They don't necessarily know anything about tarot. They know that I talked about Yoshino Yoshino because I know Yoshino. Yoshino is a photographer. I absolutely love his photos. And this person probably connected the dots, and they thought Silvia likes tarot. She also likes photography. Yoshino is a photographer. He made a tarot deck, and let's get her deck. So this is probably the reason why this person has chosen this as a gift to me. And I never rehome a gift. I always appreciate the fact that a person is actually going to the extent of buying something for me. I don't know whether this person would have chosen this deck had this person been in the tarot community. I have no idea. But in any case, they were aware that this is AI generated. But it has, I received it today, and I want to have a look at it together with you. So this is a really nice inside front cover, let's say. So the Artist Decoded Tarot guidebook, obviously. This is printed by RP Studio in Philadelphia by Jennifer Sodini and Yoshino. And so the copyright, etc., illustrations copyright, cover copyright by Hachette Book Group. So it's a mass market deck. This is the first edition from June 2024, so it's relatively new. And I can see here there's a couple of introductions, so by both Yoshino and Jennifer, and it says here, to my beloved mother. Okay, no, it's a private dedication. Sorry, I thought it would have been some kind of an introduction message, but this is actually a dedication, so I really like that. I always like that someone is dedicating their artwork to someone. And in here you see the table of contents. So we've got the artist statement, we got a bit of a foreword by Mitch Horowitz, then we got the introduction, we have the how to use the cards, a brief overview of the key symbols. Then we've got obviously the pages dedicated to the major arcanas, the minor arcanas, wands, cups, swords, and pentacles. So we can see already that there has been no renaming of, at least none that I can see, of either the major nor the minors. And then we've got the artist statement. And before we get to this, I just want to say something. So I actually had a look, or rather I listened to the podcast from some time ago, where Yoshino and Jennifer talk through the creation of this deck. They talk about what they had to face when it comes to creating art, the fact of creating something artistic with the use of AI. So there are references to the fact that they believe that even when it's a machine that is creating something, if it is artistic, it can still be considered artistic. It can still be considered art. And I have to say that to that, so you don't have to wait until the end of this video to know my opinion on that. I probably agree to a certain extent. I remember, for example, many years ago, I used to be a photographer as well. I used to be a producer of a photography show here in Australia. It was called Snap Happy. And I remember that we were traveling around Australia, we were interviewing photographers, and we were talking about photography techniques that are used by photographers. And of course, I was going with one of the most famous photographers in the world. He's a National Geographic photographer, and it was in Nat Geo channels as well for a long time. I'm talking about Jason Edwards. So Jace and I, and also another presenter and the producer of the show, we were traveling around Australia. And obviously, you know, when you're traveling, you have a lot of time to spend and to kill. And obviously, we were talking about not AI in specific, because back then it wasn't a thing yet. We were talking about 10 years ago. But we were talking about manipulation and digital manipulation. Now, to me, this is a very important argument, because while we're talking about manipulation of a photograph, for example, we will know that we start with the raw file. So everything that is impressed in the file that is capturing the amount of light, the colors, the focus, and a number of things, the white balance, etc. From that, you have the raw file. From that, you apply a certain amount of tweaking to that photo. And it really depends on the creator, let's call it creator, a photographer is a creator. So it really depends on the creator, on the amount of tweaking that you want to do up until the point in which you consider that photo to be a finished product. So when we're looking at commercial photography, there is a lot of manipulation. Let me tell you that I have witnessed that. I have been interviewing commercial photographers, and I can assure you 1000%, what we see is not the original file. There's a lot of, let's say, what we call fine art photography, and there's some kind of manipulation in that. For example, I have been, as I said, I also interviewed a photographer that is Australian but is worked in the US for a long time. He was also the director of photography for one of Mel Gibson's movie, and I also interviewed the director of photography for the David Letterman show. So I have actually talked to photographers all around the world, and we talked a lot about what is the raw file and the process in between and achieving the finished product. And let me tell you, there is not two persons with the same opinion. I am not even joking, not two persons with the same opinion. Someone will tell you that you can do as much manipulation as you want, just as long as you're the one doing it. Someone will tell you that no, it needs to be raw. You're not even allowed to do a little bit of focusing, for example, a little bit of white balance. Someone will tell you that Jason, for example, will always say white balance and focus are necessary because raw files are not actually defined when it comes to focus and white balance. So that's allowed. That's actually even preferred. I honestly think that when you're looking at overly processed photos, and I promised I'm getting to the point because I know that you don't like chatty videos. Some of you don't like chatty videos. Feel free to skip ahead or to put the speed to 1.5. I don't get offended. But in my opinion, there is a limit. I draw a limit to perhaps a little bit more than Jason. So to me, white balance and focus, yes, they are necessary. Sometimes you can also try and make the photo more vibrant with perhaps working on the highlights and the lowlights. And sometimes the definition. But to be honest with you, I never use saturation because I think that it actually ruins a photo. But that is just my opinion. And I know that not everyone agrees to that. But that is still not AI. So what I think, and please feel free to disagree with me, but as I said, please let's keep it friendly and respectful. But I kind of don't understand why Jennifer and Yoshino had this podcast about this tech that has been completely created with AI. They had this opportunity to reach probably hundreds of thousands of people listening to that podcast, and artists really wanting to get into the discussion and understanding what they think about it, but they didn't touch on the ethical reasons behind many discussions about AI. I listened to the whole hour and 9 minutes, I think it was, of this podcast. And my apologies, perhaps there's other podcasts by them in which they actually touch on the ethical concerns. But during that 1 hour and 9 minutes, they did not talk about it. They talked about the ethical problems when faced with the decision whether to tell that something produced by a machine is artistic or not, but the ethical concern is not that one only. My ethical concern is the procedure or the process, that AI as a machine uses in order to come up with these images. So I'm talking about the sampling of thousands, millions possibly, of images created by other artists that are out there online that a machine is looking at, sampling them, taking away from them, and then producing something different and producing it as something not just different, but something new. That is my main ethical concern. I understand that we can have a discussion whether something created by a machine is art or not, and I would love to have this discussion. But I don't think that it's the most pressing matter when we're talking about AI-generated images. Having said that, you can do as much or as little research as you want. I have been doing my research, and as I said, I have my own opinion. And as I said, I'm only going to say that at the end of this video. And the reason behind that is because I personally believe that there's different stages of AI. And I know that it sounds like I want to fit a narrative, but I'm not. I'm literally just having a very systematic approach to something that I want to understand. And that's exactly the same thing that I do about anything, whether I'm studying neuroscience or I'm studying my editing software for the videos that I'm posting. I always use the same approach, and I always try and gather as much data as possible before forming my own opinion. So, in any case, going through the book here, as we can see, we have the minors, we have the majors here, we have more or less the same amount of description for both majors and minors. And here comes another, not problem, but something that I know that it could result in a discussion. So I was watching Thea's video, Thea from the Garden Goddess Tarot, and she was actually presenting this deck as well. And at a certain point, she said, okay, so they said that the images are produced with AI. And I'm reading the book here, and I'm thinking maybe the person who wrote the book is Jennifer Sodini Aronovich. However, because I know that the images have been produced with AI, how do I know that this is actually being written by a human and not by a machine and not by ChatGPT? How do I know that the text is not produced also by AI? If they went as far as to produce a whole deck with AI, how do I know that this is actually a person? Now, I don't think that they're lying. I personally don't think that Jennifer would say, I wrote this and she didn't. But I understand Thea. I understand her concern. I completely understand that. And to be honest with you, I don't have a lot of experience on ChatGPT because I've only seen a couple of things being created. And I think I can tell because they're very repetitive. Like if you have an essay built by AI, it's very repetitive. Like it feels like it's almost giving out one concept, but in a let's say 3 or 4 different paragraphs and rephrased with different words, almost as if someone were just looking at synonyms for the words they already used and then just remix them up and put them there. You know what I mean? And I think it's rather easy to spot when something is being written by AI, but I could be completely wrong. And I do know that there's a lot of research and money that goes into that. And that also means that obviously we will see something that will probably mimic more and more what a human will write. So I don't know if we will get to one day in which a machine will actually produce not just the art, or rather the images on a deck, but also the book. I don't know. We will see. I guess we just have to wait and see. Now, first of all, I want to show you this deck because as I said earlier, I believe that there are different stages. And let me explain this. When we're looking at AI, I believe that you can just choose to go to a software and give it instructions on whatever it is that you want to create. This is the tuck box, by the way, front and back. And you can just tell the computer, yeah, okay, you need to generate this image and it needs to be presenting the full from the tarot, and it needs to have, for example, a dog, and it needs to be a person standing on a cliff top perhaps, and there needs to be, I don't know, clouds in the background, mountains in the background. There needs to be, this person needs to look like it's jumping. I think that you can give as many details as you want, and you can write an entire story behind it. And then obviously you have something that the machine is spitting out as an image. And that is a stage 1 to me. So stage 1, just to give an example, sorry, this is not very, okay, I'm realizing I should have started with a different deck, but we're looking at it later. So this is an example of stage one to me, and I could be completely wrong. And as I said, unfortunately, we don't have guidelines on, the various stages of producing something through or with AI. So this is the Millennial Tarot. This is the indie edition, but it's coming out mass market, or I think it's actually already come out mass market. I don't remember the publisher, sorry. So this is a very clear example to me of a stage one, in the sense that A, it was made a few years ago. B, you can still tell by how bad the feet and the hands of the characters are. For some reason, AI doesn't really do well with hands and feet. As you can see here as well, especially when it comes to the fingers, and also when it comes to smaller details like this one. And I believe that this one was a novelty when it came out because everyone was interested. Everyone was very excited because we didn't necessarily know what the process entails. We didn't necessarily know the sampling thing about, all of the millions of images that are taken from to produce and to come out with something like that, with an image like that. This is also a gift. This has been a gift by my husband for one of my birthdays years ago, but it was upon my request. So I was the one that actually asked me, can you please get me this deck? I'm really interested. I want to see how it reads, how I feel towards it. I really want to understand if I can feel the spirit, the soul of the creator behind these images that have not been created by a person, but they have been created by AI. Regardless of the fact that obviously there was a human being giving AI a description of what they wanted to achieve on the cards themselves. Do I like this deck? Can I be completely honest? I am not 100% liking the images because I honestly think that this was a very, how should I put it, very rough kind of AI, as I said, first stage, when really there were a lot of mistakes made. But I actually really love the keywords. I really believe that all of the renaming that has been done of the majors and also the minors is extremely helpful for someone who's learning tarot and they're kind of bored or tired of using the RWS and they want to see something new and they want to see something modern. And this is literally a deck that can help you with that. So it's a deck that I would definitely recommend if you are okay with owning an AI deck, first of all. Second of all, I urge you to look at the keywords and the renamings of the cards, because I can assure you that this will make you a better reader. Obviously, there's millions of decks that are not millions, let's say thousands of decks that are not AI generated that will provide you with the same additional layer of understanding of the cards, so you don't have to get this deck, especially if you don't feel comfortable with owning an AI deck. As I said, not a fan of the images, especially now that we know all of the ethical issues behind them, but I am a fan of the keywords. So this is stage one for me. And then we have stage two, and that's where I'm going to show you the Artist Decoded, which is this deck here. And this is stage two for me. Why? Because it feels like, well, first of all, it wasn't one of the very first results of an AI-generated deck. It still feels like there's not a lot of, let's call it manipulation as determined by a human being. I can definitely feel the machine behind these images, and I can definitely look at for example, in here, this is a very good example. So this is the Wheel of Fortune, and one of the reasons why I can definitely recognize that AI is behind this is that you can tell that these are the backs of some books. I don't know if you can tell, but in any case, these are, they look to me like there's words in here, but because AI cannot really deal with smaller details, then this is a, let's say, first exit, that this is what's being produced by AI. However, after that, because I have listened to the podcast, I have actually learned that Yoshino was talking about the fact that there's a lot of work behind this stack. So it was originally produced, these images were originally produced by a machine, so AI generated. However, he talks about the amount of work that they used in collaging and manipulating, digitally manipulating the images, making them look slightly different from the original work. So this to me, when the artist, and I have no reason why not to believe them. So let's start, let's take that for granted. I am believing what they're saying. I really don't think that they're going to lie about something. If someone is lying about an AI generated deck, they will probably lie about having used AI, not about the extent to which they're using AI. So believing what they're said, I appreciate the effort. I definitely appreciate that there's work, and as much work as Yoshino was talking about in their podcast. And so I actually think that this is a really good example for a stage 2 AI. Please bear with me because it's not a definition. It doesn't come from a manual. You will not be able to Google it and Google stage 1 AI, stage 2 AI, because I'm literally making it up right now. However, I do feel like it is kind of helping me, at least, understand also how to relate to this stack. So there are human components in this stack. And I don't feel like I can say the same for stage 1 AI, whether it's a tarot deck or, anything else that has been produced with AI. When it's a stage 1, I don't think that I can feel the soul of the creator behind that work. And as such, and you'll probably understand why I want to wait for the end to tell you what I think about it. But really, this begets the question, is there space for AI in art? And if there is, if the answer is yes, or even if the answer is maybe, or even if the answer is it depends, because that's my favorite answer for everything, because I am an air sign, so obviously we always need to talk things through. But at the end of the day, we need to take a side, because obviously these will be more and more, let's say, advertised and made available in the market. And it will be up to us, collectors and readers, to decide whether we want to have an AI-generated deck in our collection or not. So this to me is stage 2. And as I said, please bear with me. I know you might disagree. You might think it's still what I defined as stage 1. However, I do believe what Yoshino was saying. There's a lot of work that went behind all of these cards. And he was talking about the minors in specific, because he was saying that obviously all of these images, for example, these are not images, all of these wands, swords. So this is the 9 of Swords. I'm not making a good job in describing it, but so these swords are literally been not AI generated, but they have been collaged in, they have been manipulated, have been created by a human person. So obviously, there was this additional step in after the creation of the images by the machine, because they needed to look like tarot cards. So they needed to look like a 9 of Swords and a 10 of Swords and a 3 of Cups, etc. So obviously, taking that and believing in what he said, I can definitely feel that there was a choice made. There was a choice. It wasn't just the machine or the computer or, the millions of images that were sampled in order to produce this that came to this result. These pentacles here, they are human generated, not AI generated. So this is where I can see the soul of the creator. How much of the soul of the creator I can see in these images? Not much. Because obviously everything else is AI generated, or at least to the extent that I know. The pentacles are not. Okay, they're beautiful pentacles and I appreciate that. But how much can I relate to this deck? And that's follows the question. So if the original question is there space for AI in art? How much can we relate to the soul of the creator if we start from an AI generated deck? where is the soul of the creator? Does it lie in the description that the creator has typed in ChatGPT or whatever program or software in order to produce these images? Is that enough? Is it enough to tell us something about the soul of the creator? Is it enough for us as tarot readers and tarot collectors to create a connection, a meaningful connection to a deck? Is it enough to bond with the deck? And these are questions that many of us are asking ourselves and others right now. And as I said, I really love that Thea actually came up with this discussion, because I think that we need to talk about it. And as I said, in a respectful manner, because we need to accept that others have different opinions about this, like always. And I used to laugh because I remember many years ago when people used to say internet will not last. Internet is not here to stay. And we now know what the result of that was. So that did not age well. So what if AI is also here to stay? Because there's a lot of people saying that it's not, that it's going to go away soon, that is too problematic. And when it comes to laws and copyrights, it's too problematic, and it creates the possibility for a lot of lawsuits. Of course, I can see that. But we don't know. We may actually be stuck with it, and it may become something that will become part of our lives, our daily lives. We don't know that yet. So this is stage 2. And now let's talk about 2 tarot decks that I actually really like. And I'm talking about the Habitual Trauma Tarot and the Tamara Tarot. This is the same creator. She lives in Switzerland. These are 2 Kickstarter rewards from 2 different Kickstarter campaigns. From this one from maybe a year and a half ago, and this one from maybe 6 months ago. I just recently received this one. This one I've had for probably a year or just over a year. I have to say that this to me looks like a very good example of what I would call stage 3 AI. Let's have a look at the cards. So we'll start with this one because this one is the older one between the 2 of them, the Habitual Trauma Tarot. And by the way, I have heard a lot of people really loving this deck, really asking. They did not back the Kickstarter campaign, so they're asking for an ISO, so in search of, in the Facebook groups, etc. And this, so let me just start with order. So I know, not personally, but I have been in touch with the creator several times. I follow her Instagram account. I have been following her account for a long time, and I have literally seen the process that she uses in order to create these cards. And I can say one thing, what she says, explaining her process in the Kickstarter campaign, she says that she, for each and every one of these cards, after the initial, let's say, result out of AI, she had to apply at least 100 clicks. And by clicks, obviously, we're talking about mouse clicks to each and every one of these cards in order to attain what we will call the finished product. So these cards here are stage 3 for me, because these are definitely not the images that were just released by AI on the first round. So when she input the information on the computer, asking for the computer to generate something, this is not what the images looked like. They looked like probably something completely different. Then she proceeded, she is an artist, by the way, she is a painter. So she proceeded in working upon these images and getting to the final result. And as she specified, 100 mouse clicks later. And I can tell you that you will not find hands that do not look like hands in this deck. You will find details like this one, for example, here, that are actually very good. There is attention to details here. So this is definitely not the stage 1 AI. By now, let's just agree to call it stage 1 when it's just out of the machine. So this is not stage 1. This is not even stage 2, because there's a lot of work. And 100 clicks out of these images is a lot. I mean, if you think about it, just the next time that you're working on an image, for example, if you're a photographer or anything, if you're an artist, a digital artist, count the clicks that you're applying and tell me afterwards how many you had to use before you were satisfied, before you were like, okay, this is good enough for me. So 100 clicks at least. So this is a really beautiful deck. I actually really love it. I really think that when I look at these cards, especially this card, this one is Der Berg. So it means the mountain, and this is the matter, or as we call it in Italy, Cervino. This is a mountain that it makes me very emotional. It was a visit, so it's a trip that I've taken when I was very little with my mom and dad. That was the last trip we could take all together because my mom fell ill probably a couple of months afterwards. And so obviously I do cherish the memory of that trip, even though I was very little. I remember very, very small details, but I do remember looking at the mountains. And when I look at it right now, I always remember that. This is something that I have absolutely no problem in connecting with. I do not feel like I'm connecting to a machine. I feel like when I'm looking at these cards, I'm connecting to the creator. I feel that behind these cards, there is the soul of the creator. This is not something that I would say out of a stage 1 or even out of a stage 2 AI, but definitely out of this stage 3. Look at this one. It looks like a painting. So talking about stage 3 and this creator, we're also looking at the Tamara Tarot, which is a more recent deck from a Kickstarter from earlier on in the year. I love the backs, by the way. I remember when she was sending out surveys, there were 4 different designs for the backs, and I also voted for this one because I really love them. It really goes well with the theme of this deck, and it's these images are based on a creator's love for Tamara de Lempicka. So obviously all of these images, especially the characters, if you know Tamara de Lempicka, you will definitely recognize the style. And she was saying, even in this deck, it was exactly the same type of work. There is a lot of work behind these cards. Ironically, I like the Arbiter Tarot more than this one, but it's just because of I don't necessarily vibe with this skin color for the background. So it's literally just because of that. I feel that it takes away the power a little bit of the images, which is a bit of a pity because I really, really love these images. This is definitely stage 3. As you can see, there is a lot of work. There's a lot of attention to details. The hands look like hands. They don't look weird or odd in any way. Where there's writings, I believe there is one card where there's writings, but now, of course, because of Murphy's Law, I can't find it. But when I see it, I will point that out to you. So even that, when you look at small details, you will see that they are well refined. There's no approximation in the images. Well, this one, for example, a little bit there. And so that definitely tells me something about the creator. Not just, the image themselves, but literally the way, the care, the way in which, for example, there is this wound on the top of the lion, because this is the Nine of Wands, and it does point to resilience, or, being completely exhausted and still having to go on. And I really, really appreciate that. Do I connect with this deck? Yes, a little bit less than the Habitat, but simply because of the color. I would have gone with probably maybe white, I don't know, but I'm not an artist, so I can't really say anything. I love this Chariot card. And do I connect with the creator? Yes, I do. So in this case, you can see here, the character is... I think is reading a photographic book, I believe. But the attention to details here is not out of a machine. This is definitely the creator behind all that. And that is why I do define this one as a stage 3. Love this dress, by the way. So do I connect with this deck? I do. Do I like it? I do. I would have loved it better with a different color, but that is very personal, and I would definitely not count that as a deal breaker at all. So do I feel like I can judge and I can say that I know the creator a little bit better because I'm looking at the cards? Yes, I can definitely say that. I feel that I have absolutely no problem in saying that by looking at this. So as you can see here, for example, the face of the watch, of the clock, sorry, is also perfect. There's no mistakes there, which is something that you will notice in many cards, as immediately in stage 1 AI, you will see that it's not very clear. You would not be able to have the Roman numbers, correct like that one. I love this card. This is the Hangman. The Hangman, I really love this card. It's very similar to a card that is part of, I believe it's the Three of Wands of my favorite deck. It's the Savvy Soul Tarot. It's also an astronaut, tethered by this rope, but obviously, waiting to get out. And this is the Hangman. And it gives you the perspective, the different perspective, because they're looking at the world of the Earth from space, obviously. So really, really liking this one, whether you like the aesthetics or not, but I believe that we need to agree on a way at least to classify AI products. And this to me is stage 3. And as I said, it's helping me to understand how to relate to these decks. Now, we'll come to the end of this video. And finally, let me say, I am ready to tell you what I think about AI. So if you're still here, thank you so much, first of all, because I know that it's been a long video and not necessarily showing a lot of cards. But I will tell you this. I do not necessarily like the Millennial Tarot. I feel that in the creation of this deck, I personally, so this is not to say something negative about the creators. Please understand, this is generally speaking my way of bonding with a deck. When I bond with a deck, I like it. When I don't like it, I find it difficult to bond with it. I don't like the images. I feel that there is little to nothing that shows me the soul of the creator. And I believe that the concept of art is because we look at art in order to find a meaningful connection. We look at art because we want to understand what out of the soul of the creator came into the canvas or the photographic paper, etc. We need to feel that the human being has created something because they needed to express something. It could be rage, it could be pain, it could be grief, it could be loss, it could be happiness, it could be laughter, it could be, you name it. But personally, in order to call something art and artistic, and a tarot deck needs to be artistic. It could be a type of art that I don't like, but that doesn't matter. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about whether I like it or not. Do I recognize myself in these cards? No. I definitely feel like I can bond with the keywords and the titles because I believe they've done an excellent job, but I do not recognize myself. I do not resonate with these cards because they feel a little bit too soulless. And I know that I'm saying something very blunt, but this is my personal opinion. And as I said, if you disagree, of course, you're entitled to disagree with me. Maybe you find this has the soul of the creator behind the cards, and you can let me know so in the comments below, just as long as you keep it respectful, as always. When it comes to this deck, I feel that we're getting closer, but can I just say something? And I don't think that Jennifer or Yoshina are going to watch this video. If you guys are, I am keeping your deck because it was a gift. And as a gift, I obviously appreciate it. I appreciate the effort that you made in creating this. But can I just say something? Jennifer, at a certain point in the podcast, she says that she doesn't call herself an artist. Jennifer, your decks, your Oracle decks are two of my favorite ones, especially the Modern Nirvana Oracle is absolutely fantastic. That is the deck that I use when I want to give a wrap-up message out of the Wheel of the Years. That is how important that deck is for me, and how much I love it and how much I resonate with it. And Yoshino, your photos are simply amazing. I am a bit sad that a union such a powerful as Jennifer and Yoshino did not produce a tarot deck that was 100% their soul. I know that you worked a lot on this. I understand that. And I can feel it. but not as much as I would have loved to. And I feel that you should call yourself artist, both of you, because if you can make the decks that you made, if you can make the photos that you made, you are an artist. And I would have loved to have a tarot deck made 100% by you. So this is what I have to say. And then when it comes to these two, I have absolutely no problem in having them in my collection. I consider them fantastic decks. As I said, aesthetically speaking, this one is my least favorite between these two. This one is fantastic. I can definitely feel the creator at work. And I know I've seen it working. I have seen it being born, and I've seen all the stages of work in these cards, and I can definitely recognize that. But this is the end of the video, so if you're still here, please let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.